Alright, AoC meeting number 5. I'm really sorry this took so long. There were some complications this time around. Normally, Molly takes notes during the meeting about what we talked about and what we can and can't tell you guys. But Molly was out of the office for the past several days. Now that Molly is back, she went in and tracked down everyone she needed to talk to in order to put these notes together. So yeah, sorry for the delay. It's no one's fault, just unlucky complications. Practically everything from this meeting, besides the art-related stuff at the end of it, are things we can talk about with you guys. So let's start off with the stuff I said I was going to bring up in my last couple of videos. Yes, that is the Zhin and Koga nerfs and the lack of Lian and Cassie nerfs. Regarding Zhin and Koga, I did notice a lot of people saying the nerfs were too much. And every time something gets nerfed, there's a group of people that don't like it, right? Like there were people that didn't like the Ashe health nerf, despite it being very fair and warranted. When it comes to Zhin and Koga, and Zhin especially, there were a very large and abnormal amount of people who disliked these nerfs. Evil Mojo said that this makes sense, because they are higher play rate characters, so seeing more people who dislike the nerfs is normal. But at least to me, it did still feel like quite a lot more than it probably should have been. They did still hear the feedback though. As far as messing with the nerfs before they go live, that's not going to happen. But if they find that Zhin and Koga aren't doing well after their nerfs, they'll do something. They don't want to be knee-jerky about messing with balance before it goes live. I can definitely understand that. There have been a few times where doing so could have messed things up. Remember when Grover had efflorescence put in his base kit and so many people were saying that they were killing him? But he ended up being the strongest support with one of the highest support win rates ever. If they would have buffed Grover based on community feedback before the balance went live, he would have been even more of a monster. And there's a thing with this too. Even after all this time, people still say they're killing Grover with every nerf he's gotten. The Rampant Blooming nerf, for example. Many said they were killing him, but he's still overperforming, so they're doing the Crippled Duration nerf. Many are saying they're killing him again, but he'll likely be fine. There's a reason why people feel like this too. When it comes to stuff like healers and tanks, people don't really feel how powerful they can really be. Like with healers, oh, they just heal, just by cot, easy, not overpowered. Well, that's not the reality. It's harder to feel how strong a support and tank is compared to a damage and a flank. If Lian obliterates you with Eminence before you can even breathe, that's gonna feel really overpowered in that moment. But Grover, being a very powerful support and having an absurdly high win rate that you can't see, isn't going to feel so overpowered. Supports and tanks, believe it or not, are the ones who often overperform the most, or end up being broken or overpowered. They said the last case they had of a DPS being really overpowered was Bomb King when he got lag compensation. Some of you may remember what people like to call the BK LAN. That esports event was decided on banning BK or picking BK, because if one team got BK, they won that game. Yes, it was that simple. So yeah, they don't want to be knee-jerky about Zhin and Koga. Again, if they end up underperforming, they'll do something about it, but they're pretty confident that they'll be fine. Koga has a really nice win rate right now apparently, and Zhin has an even better one that's really high for a flank. So yeah, they do admit that the Zhin nerf in particular is harsh, but when something is doing that well, they feel that they need to be harsh. This is another case of something not feeling overpowered. Zhin doesn't really feel overpowered because he isn't hyper lethal. He doesn't obliterate you in an instant, but all of his strength is in his escape, since he has 2 methods of escaping and 2 moments of invulnerability. And escaping isn't something that hits people as overpowered, compared to, again, something like Lian Thanos snapping you from existence. Now, me personally, even though I do get it, I get why they're doing it, I still don't completely agree. I do play at a higher level, so flanks aren't very good. Zhin was one of the 2 that were, and I do feel like this will hurt him a lot at a higher level. Koga already doesn't exist there at all, but most of the player base doesn't play at a higher level, and flanks do a lot better outside of the higher levels. Odds are these nerfs will put them at the win rates that Evil Mojo wants them to be at, but at higher levels they'll probably be non-existent or even more non-existent. Now, I'll be happy to be wrong if that's the case. At least about Zhin, I'm confident I'm not wrong about Koga since, like I said, he already doesn't exist at a higher level. But hey, we'll see. Now for Lian and Cassie. We'll start with Cassie first. You guys know how a lot of us look at characters like Damba and BK as characters that are really well balanced, and should be what balance is centered around? Well, to Evil Mojo, that has always been Cassie. Cassie hasn't been nerfed or buffed in some time, so with nothing recently changing, they don't want to nerf her. Also, I want you guys to guess in your heads how well Lian and Cassie probably do. Take a second. Think of a win rate. I'll wait. So they're both about 45%. That's low. To put it into perspective, Imani is at 50% and that's a balanced and ideal win rate. Now Lian and Cassie are characters who do better at higher skill levels, right? Well, their win rates are basically the same at higher levels apparently. So couple that with the other stuff I said about Cassie, and they don't want to nerf her. Lian is kind of in a similar boat, but the thing with Lian's Eminent Spam build is it's a lot newer, so they are more open to nerfing that, and they're going to look into ways to do it. As far as how they'll do it, they don't know yet. I think the best ways would be to either nerf her Heraldry card or take the cooldown reduction off of the Eminence talent itself. A lot of you said to give Heraldry an internal cooldown. There are reasons I didn't say that in my video, and Evil Mojo had the same reasons. Internal cooldowns kinda suck. They're difficult to communicate, they make it so cards don't work how people feel like they should work, and in general, people don't like them. Look at the internal cooldown on Fernando's Hot Pursuit card. So many people tell me that they hate that. They want it gone or at the very least lowered. Internal cooldowns don't feel good. They're a last resort for Evil Mojo. So yeah, they are considering and looking into nerfing Lian's Eminent Spam, but not with an internal cooldown. So regarding that stuff, we're 1 out of 4 for right now. Again, I don't always 100% agree with them, but it is difficult to argue with some of their reasoning and the stats that back it up. It's very difficult to find a balance between the real stats and the outspoken opinions of the community, because they do often conflict with each other. I really don't envy their jobs. Game development sounds so stressful. They did also say that a big part of being a game designer isn't really balance. It's making things feel good. Obviously, balance is a big part, don't misunderstand, but the feel of the game is often more important. Grok is a good example of this. So Grok has a really high win rate. He almost always has. Not as high as Grover's, but he's up there. Many people feel Grok is bad, or just okay. Many don't feel he's overpowered, but his win rate says he's overpowered. They don't nerf him because he'd feel really bad to a lot of people, and many people would probably be upset. So they leave him at a high win rate to preserve his feel and not make people upset. On some Paladin stat websites, you can see his win rate is above average. Those websites aren't really always correct though, so keep that in mind. Evil Mojo are the only ones that can see the real win rate of things, whether it's across the entire game or at specific levels of play. So if you see Grok's win rate on those sites, you will see that it's high, but it's not the same number Evil Mojo sees. I'm just pointing it out so you guys can get an idea by seeing it firsthand, even if it's a bit off. So if the feel of something is really important, even if the characters like Koga and Zhin do fine statistically after their nerfs, if they feel bad to play for many people, maybe their feels can be improved. I know currently Koga already has a lot of problems with how he feels. Maybe those things can be explored. Imani was also brought up in the meeting. The most notable thing was they said that her ice projectile size, even after the first nerf it got, is still bigger than intended. So they're reducing it again. Hopefully this will also make it clip on walls less, but I feel like that'll only happen if they make it so they come out of the center of the screen, like most characters, and not the sides of it. Okay, so individual performance being factored in when it comes to ranked. So this is a big ask by many of you. It's something I've kinda wanted as well, but it leads to more problems than it solves. They get it. It does kinda suck to feel reliant on 4 other people for you to progress through ranked. Sometimes it feels out of your hands. However, if they factored in individual performance, then people would stop focusing on winning as a team and focus on themselves and getting big flashy numbers. What characters get the big flashy numbers? The DPS characters. They often get the most damage and the most kills. So people would focus on playing those characters more than they already do, and they would focus on getting a lot of kills and damage, so the system sees this and makes them win more TP or lose less TP. While tanks and supports would be losing out since the only big numbers they can get, at least often, are objective time and healing. Ideally, supports get the most objective time as well as healing, while the tank zones and pushes. So tanks would be punished by the system for doing what they're supposed to. Also, imagine this. A Victor loses less TP than you because he bought Def Hands and pumped a ton of damage into an Inara being pocketed by a Saris all game. Or you're a tank setting up a lot of kills and your DPS keeps cleaning them up. You did all the work, your DPS gets all of the reward. It's a team-based game. Working together like a team is how you thrive. Individual performance would mess that up greatly. Like always, content-related stuff like skins, characters, and maps I can't talk about. All I can say is I've seen several different skins from the next several updates, and I've seen the next 3 characters, counting the support you guys are so hyped about, and rightfully so hyped about. Oh, also, one more thing. I nearly forgot. Martini specifically said during the meeting that we could tell you guys this. You guys already knew they were going to make the Androxus and Lex talents that allow you to use their old fire rates and damage numbers. The plan is the numbers for the damage and fire rates are going to return how they were, and Martini has started working on them. I assumed these wouldn't come out till late in the year, but no, you guys will see them sometime in the next few updates. I thought that was great news, way sooner than I expected. We knew they were coming, but it's nice to have a real release window in mind. I cannot wait to have the slow, methodical Lex guns back. I didn't get to enjoy them enough when they were around. I also didn't really play Andro when he fired slower too, so it'll be nice to really experience that. Anyway, that's meeting number 5, and that's pretty much it, guys. I want to thank you all for watching. I very much appreciate it, and I'm gonna see you guys later. Bye!